Tomas, you still with us? Okay, so sorry we're late a bit, but actually the tour was probably very cool. Let me make this a bit bigger. So, Tomas, hang around for introductions. So, first of all, great to see you again. Who's for the first time at a Producttank meetup? Most of us, I think. So that's great news. It's a completely different topic than we've done before. Hence the hardware versus software. My name is David Ruzius. I work as a product manager for Prague. That's at the company LMC. It's a mobile app for recruitment. I'm hosting the stream Innovation. Producttank is separated in multiple streams for organization, for evolution, and for innovation. And so we cover different topics in the area of product management in those streams. So now you're signed up for Meetup. Keep an eye on the meetups and you will find out hopefully one of the topics that might be interesting for you in the area of, as I said, organization, evolution, how to become a better product manager, or innovation, which I'm hosting. Today's hardware versus software battle, I want to make it a bit more interesting sounding maybe than it is. It's not that they're going to actually fight against each other, but it's nice, especially for the people that have a very hard software background, to get familiar like how stuff works in hardware, especially for me. I'm very interested myself. I need to mention these two. First of all, Pusha Lab here, hosting us, the event, showing you around, so which is awesome. Check them out, they do amazing workshops, courses, you can make your own stuff here. So check them out and sign up for their stuff. Secondly, LMC, my employer. We make services like Jobsizet, Praatszizet, Praatszizet, and we are the ones paying your beer. Drink enough beer because we have loads of it. Get some food. And thank you LMC for my employer for sponsoring us. One thing more about Producttank. For the people that mind the product, the conference, it's a conference in UK and the US. And they are the ones actually behind setting up Producttank meetups all around the world. We are country 100, and by now there's something like 50,000 people in 5 continents. So this type of meetings around product and product management is happening all over the world. So check out any city you're visiting if you're interested in what's happening there. We're doing it for you, so on your chair you found a form, so please give us some feedback and tell us what you want to know and hear about next meetups, and we can just improve. Introductions. So I'm going to ask the panel member here to introduce themselves instead of me. So first one, Jeffrey. So tell us something about yourself and the product behind you.
My name is Jeffrey Martin. I founded SpiritCan, and I'm here mostly to talk about that experience. I've been working on 360-degree video hardware since 2008. I founded a company before that called 360 Cities. That's still online and still a company I'm not involved in anymore. SpiritCan was a 360-degree video camera for virtual reality filmmakers. We did Kickstarter, raised nearly $500,000 there, and we subsequently got another $500,000 of pre-orders, and then we got a few $1 million of investment from strategic investors, not VCs.
I think we'll get to the sort of details of the whole story SpiritCan a bit later on. So maybe you can say something about the 2 things we're seeing on the screen.
So one is a small portable camera for VR filmmakers. The other one is a larger studio-grade device intended for high-end filmmaking studios.
Okay, cool. So we get about the details, like how you get started, how you went through the product and the company. One of the keywords says was a company that did.
That's right.
So we'll get there as well, I think. So thank you very much. Second, joining us, I'll move you up again because you went down for some reason. I'll move you up again. On screen, Tomas Turek from San Francisco now, dialed in. It's like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock each there. So Tomas, please introduce yourself and the product behind you.
Hey Dave, hey guys, thanks a lot for inviting me on this panel. So I'm usually not very good at introductions of myself. I first noticed that when I was when I started to go on dates, and the girls would lose interest when I started to talk about myself. But I'll try to do my best. When I was 21, I decided I want to do something with my life, something else besides sports. I was a professional athlete, and then I decided to refocus all my attention towards something what I thought was more meaningful. So I started to build companies. I have built 4 companies until today in internet applications, banking informational systems, in commodity trading, and now the biggest so far, Angee, which is an automated home security solution.
Maybe
that I guess this is the big picture, and I guess we'll delve into details later.
Maybe a bit about what Angee can and cannot do, or like.
Yeah, all right. So Angee is a home security system, but it was built with the notion of people wanting a home security that works automatically without them worrying about how does it work, how it needs to be set up. So we actually decided back in 2014 to revolutionize the way that home security systems work. Basically, they were old, ugly, and we decided to change that.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there as well because we're going to get there talking about sort of product discovery, like how you decided to build this particular product. So for now, thank you very much.
Sure.
Next one in line, Paul Dubsky, VERB says that, and I think an interesting product. You can tell yourself what it is.
Absolutely. So my name is Paul Dubsky. I've been here in Prague for the last 26 years. Just a couple of seconds on my background. I have 1 wife, I have 2 cats, I have 3 kids, and I have 4 companies. In this order. Well, it's a perfect triangle. Then got a rabbit and turned the triangle into a bit of a Christmas tree, and it fell over and the rabbit died. We're back to the triangle again. One of the 4 companies has the agency for the Big Belly Solar Compactor, which is a robot that sits on the footpath on the streets, and inside the robot there is a receptacle, a bin. The robot has a photovoltaic panel on the roof that charges up a battery, so we have energy day and night. The battery drives an electric motor which compacts the waste inside, and the whole machine is online. With the compaction of the waste and the fact that the machine is online, waste collection is done just in time, and we have successfully and repetitively reduced waste collections in cities throughout the Czech Republic by 90+%.
Can we see the things on?
You can see them in Prague 1, Prague 2, Prague 5, Radotín, Prague Zoo, Kaulivari, Brno, Prachatice, Žaltec, and some other places.
Okay. So look out for your smart trash can.
I'll explain more about how the idea came about later on.
Sure. Thank you very much, Paul. Last in line, some cool hardware, software.
Yeah. I'm the odd one out here. So
he's gonna keep us healthy and on our
dark side here. Software. I've been in software and mostly online my whole life. My name is Marek. Cais. I had the pleasure of starting working as back then it was like web designers and webmasters, and I've moved on through conversion optimization. I helped a couple of companies make more money, like Angee, like Mall.cz, like Silvermark. I switched into more of a less e-commerce and more of a people product, Jobs.cz, which is the biggest job board in Czech Republic. So, interesting thing about that, it's 20 years, 18 years old, something like that. It's been officially the first Czech commercial domain, so it's pretty old. 97% of people I think know it. Then I grew bored and I switched sides again, and I went into a corporation, which is Microsoft Teams. I work on meetings in Microsoft Teams. Interesting contrast, I can talk about that between Jobs.cz, which is an older company, but very agile, switching to Microsoft Teams, which is a startup and very chaotic. I can talk about the Octa one over there as well.
Yeah, we'll try exploring sort of the differences or the commonalities between hardware and software development, or stuff that works in software and maybe or maybe not doesn't work in hardware or vice
We
versa.
do have some overlap into hardware with teams as well. So we do have room systems, we do have cameras, we do have audio systems.
Okay. Okay, maybe we'll get there as well. So thank you, Marek. Okay, this is a bit awkward to keep everyone on screen. So there's lots of stuff to get through, so I'm going to try my ultimate best. Keep it short and precise and focused answers. What I'm trying to do is take us through the typical sort of areas or stages of product development or product management, from discovery, how to decide what product to build, if it will fit the market, from actually making the product, delivering the product, the team behind it, how development processes would work, how product design would work, production and supply chain, get the thing on the shelf. Actually, I wonder on the shelf is Tomas Cutler here.
I think it should be here.
Okay. Okay, there were some people on Meetup that had very specific questions. So people that had questions on Meetup, make sure you get your question answered, but I'll explain how. So delivery team, the team behind the development process design, producing the product, QA, making sure the product works, doesn't kill people. Somebody said, I think it was Tomas. Certifications, which is a hot topic, and people were asking about it as well. Scaling, like if you manage to build 5 products, how do you build 10,000 of them? Sales and marketing, how does that look? And your supply chain, and how do you get the thing to the market? Roadmap, lovely topic for product managers always, like how do you make sure that what you promise to sales actually will happen? Operations and user feedback, so when you have your product out there, like how do you make sure that still nobody gets killed, but also that you get a new version out there, and that you collect some feedback to improve your product further, and hopefully at the end some big lessons learned from the guys here, including Tomas. So what I want to do is go through the areas and per section do a Q&A. So if you have very specific questions in some area, sort of think about them already, look ahead, where we're going, and I'm going to open up for 2-3 short questions after I'm going to ask my questions to the panel. So see if they will answer your question. If not, ask your question yourself. And of course you can save all the rest of your questions to the end over a beer and have a chat. I don't want to keep Tomas too long, and I want to try to get this sort of done in an hour. So first of all, discovery and product management, like how to decide why that product. People already started talking a bit about like why they started building their product particularly, but I'm going to ask them anyway, all of you guys, like why this product? I mean, Jeffy, you're a photographer. With 360 cities, you build a community around 360 panoramas. What made you decide to do a hardware product and to try to build a camera and not? That's
right. So I've been involved in 360 imaging for a long time, and I first I cobbled together this thing, which went on Kickstarter. I can pass it around. Don't flip the switches or something.
Blows up. There's no certification.
No, don't push the button. And then I'll pass this one around. This is Ross. Ross used to work with me as a product manager, as a matter of fact. So anyway, when I made the first one, the market wasn't really ready. No one really knew what VR was. It was before Oculus and all that. And then eventually the market became ready, and I wanted to really build something for pros. So we built something that was 4K resolution. I thought that Chinese companies would make something that's like 2K, which is easier, cheaper. Wouldn't be able to compete with them, so we'd have to make something more like a professional range. So that's why we decided on this particular model.
So because of your personal background, because of your interest, because to outsmart or outrun the competition, basically, and do something cooler, better than the rest. Okay. Tomas, on screen. I checked your LinkedIn, and as you said yourself, you have history in finance, e-commerce. What made you decide on doing a hardware product?
Well, Well, when you look at my background, it's business and finance. But I've been fortunate that my father has been an entrepreneur in tech ever since I remember. So that helped a lot. And actually, as I said earlier, I started my first tech startup when I was 21. But what led me to build a hardware was just looking for another challenge, I guess, because we believe not just me, but my other co-founder Lucas, we believe that we have plenty of experience in marketing and software, but we were looking for something exciting, something new, something that nobody else does. And at a point when we decided, we saw there was a great opportunity to redesign home security systems.
Okay.
But for me personally, this was more of a challenge. Let's say a mean to an end, where I believe that if we learn to build, if we create a team that can develop sophisticated hardware and can take care of the whole supply chain, manufacturing, distributing it around the whole world, then this is a mean to an end, building eventually something like a spaceship. I didn't know what the next thing is going to be, but just building something beautiful that people can touch and build relationship with, I believe that's good goal to have.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get to the challenge, like to take on the challenge, like you say yourself. Okay, we'll get there. Thank you very much, Tomas. Paul, checking your LinkedIn profile, it's from beverages, via mobile, virtual mobile operators, mobility, e-taxis, to trash cans. Why trash can?
I don't like to get bored. When I first came here, it was 2 years in the German school, 1 year in the English college, and then I decided school wasn't for me. So I left school 2 years before my leaving cert, and I've been working ever since.
Trash can.
Let me get to the trash can. It's one of my hobbies. I'm sure you all share this, is taking dirty pictures. Well, it turns out that my wife and I, we share this hobby, so we take dirty pictures and send them to one another. And if I'm very good, I even get a dirty video. They are of overflowing bins. Now, when you see an overflowing bin, you just go, or the normal person looks at an overflowing bin and goes, ugh, moves on. They're just pissed off for a split second. It's a problem. I absolutely adore problems. The bigger the problem, the more excited I am. Because if you can figure out the problem, you got a solution, you got something that you can potentially make money out of and also solve somebody else's problem. Now, it turns out that trash cans are a huge problem. And this particular product, our Big Belly, solves it in a way that no other product can. I'll get into the details later.
And that's an interesting.
But for me, the challenge, I've done lots of different things. It's always absolutely look for problems, embrace problems, throw your arms around them. If they're hairy and have warts, don't tell anybody else. Just take it home, think about it, day and night, on the loo, in traffic when you're sitting in the car, in the shower. If you can figure it out before anybody else can, there's money to be made. And you'll have fun doing it.
Good. Thank you very much. Marek, you must have a fetish for blue screens. So, I'm not going to bash you. You have a background as a developer, as you said, a UX guy, when I met you actually. Product manager in software, Microsoft product manager. Why Teams, actually? I'm not caring so much about Microsoft. Why Teams? Because we always say, like, as a product manager, you need to be your product. You need to live your product. You need to breathe your product. I like that as well. Don't breathe trash. So I think we have some good examples.
Does everybody know what Teams is? I didn't say that, but I assume you don't. Okay.
Sort of Slack.
It's Slack. Yeah, that's conservation of time. I say it's sort of Slack. So yeah, I was doing web for too long, and I was looking for something that's sort of a bigger challenge. And the complexity of software like Slack, like Teams, like cooperative hub for teamwork is like multifold of what I was doing before. There is interaction with hardware, there is multiple server issues, there is multiple cultures, and I can get into that as well. Like we have basically the whole world is covered by our product. I'm not sure about Antarctica, but I think all continents use Teams. There's businesses, there's schools, there's hospitals. So the number of problems, and I do like problems, is huge. So there's lots to solve there.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Okay, so a lot of people mentioned like challenges, like taking on a challenge, wanting a challenge. To sort of set the stage or to sort of see the difference between software and hardware, and that hardware apparently is a big challenge. I would like to kick off in sort of this discovery with Jeffrey. Like, how long did it take you before you had a somewhat working prototype of your lovely product? The thing you had in mind to have it somewhat working. How long did that take you?
The first, you can call it the duct tape prototype, that took around 10 months.
Okay, 10 months.
It was involved in FPGA design. I don't know if anyone is familiar with FPGAs. Do you know what FPGAs are? FPGAs are chips, but most chips have the circuits burned into them. FPGAs, you can change the actual circuits. So you can write a program and your chip behaves like it's a special built chip that does only that. And it's extremely fast, but the development for this is quite difficult. You need very specialized people, and it's the tool is very bad, and the whole process is kind of ugly and hard. So when you're dealing with FPGAs, it can take a long time.
To be the devil, you needed this to prototype your product, or to prove that actually your idea could work?
So building cameras, you can either use chips that are intended for cameras that contain a signal processor and hardware encoding and video compression, but generally you have to buy them in quantities of tens of thousands.
Okay.
If you can't, then these companies don't talk to you at all. So then you're left with using FPGAs, which can do the same job, but you have to kind of write all the software yourself.
Okay.
So 10 months, and then for the nice looking thing, that took another year.
Okay, I somehow lost Tomas. Okay, Tomas is back. Just in time, Tomas. Can you hear me okay?
Good.
Okay, just in
Yeah,
time because...
I have a little trouble connecting, but
Sure.
I guess it's fine.
Just in time because I wanted to ask you as well, like, from idea to the first sort of semi-working prototype, how long did that take you?
I don't know how do you define semi-working, but I guess we had something that we could present to a larger group of people after about a year.
Okay.
But but to be honest, there was a lot of discussions, and I'm formulating the goal for some time. So I think that once we were set what we are doing, it took us 3 months, day and night, to create something out of nothing. And the product that we had was basically a big plastic circuit board, like big, with a lot of components and minute PCBs on them that were responsible for specific functions of the product. And then we've had outside of it a physical and a similar shape product that was connected to it via wires, and it did some of the core functionalities that we wanted from the product. But of course, then the challenge was to put it all inside, which took another year and a half or so. But with this product, we went on Kickstarter.
Okay. Paul, same question for you. I don't know how much you know of the backstory of Big Belly.
It's a brilliant idea, and I kick myself for not inventing it myself. So it was invented 13 years ago by an American in his own garage. And he thought to himself, he kept seeing overflowing bins or trash cans, as they call them over there. And he thought to himself, well, how do businesses deal with waste? Because they have a lot of waste. And in the US, not in Europe so much, they have compactors in supermarkets or big restaurants, bars, hotels would have them. So he thought to himself, right, why don't I just take one of those compactors and see if I can build an energy plant that will get it enough energy so that I can just put it out on the street and won't have wires. So he did. That's what he took. Built one in his garage, put it out.
Do you know approximately how long it took him? Like a year as well?
It took him less than 3 years. I wouldn't know. It was a man in a garage. It wasn't even a business plan. He saw a problem. Unfortunately, he's not a part of the business anymore. That often happens with founders. He's gone off and invented something else. But the company's now 13 years old. Their product is available in all 5 continents. They've sold tens of thousands of units. And most importantly, they are on the 5th generation of the device.
Okay, we'll get to that as well. Okay, thank you very much. I start seeing a pattern here that it's a challenge. It's not very fast. So prove to us that software development is fast.
I wasn't there. I joined Microsoft more than a year ago. The story started with Balmer. It was before 2014. The way I heard it, there was always talks about collaborative software in Microsoft Online, but with the then establishment, it was looked at like this is going to cannibalize our Office business. We sell DVDs, we sell CDs with Office. It's going to cannibalize the business. So I heard that one of the CVPs actually quit after he pitched this idea. Like Microsoft didn't want to support this. It was only after a few more years where Slack launched and people accepted this. This is something that's the future. So that suddenly become something that's interesting.
Okay.
But even then, Teams started to, I think it launched fall 2016. The team worked on Teams for 2 years before launch, less than 2 years. And even after it launched, it was still sort of a side product or small product in Microsoft. It wasn't the sort of flagship thing that it is now. And it took at least a year for the leadership to accept this is something we want to support, and it's something we want to make our primary collaboration thing.
Okay. And if you would like come up with a suitable feature for Teams now, how long would that take you from thinking of it, prototyping it, getting it? Well, first of all, prototyping it, then showing it, working.
Prototyping can be fast. We've done prototypes, interactive prototypes are quite complex in a week because we're lucky we have developers just dedicated to prototyping.
Okay.
So that's a cool part of our team. We can do this really quickly.
Interesting thing, maybe.
Yeah.
The hardware people.
Then shipping the feature, we haven't still shipped it.
Okay.
And we've been working on it for at least half a year.
So that's
The prototype is quick. It was functional. It was looked as the real thing, but there's too many dependencies that you can't get around easily. It takes still too long.
QA, stuff like that.
QA is part of it, but it's just the product is too complex to ship the rough, dirty code.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so these are the only two questions I wanted to ask, like the full panel, because it's going to take us quite some time to get through this otherwise. But I want to set the stage saying, okay, it's apparently very complex. Maybe there's a smart solution to have a separated team for prototyping it all by itself. But yeah, it's not easy. We're still in the area of discovery. Product market fit. I think what I know from the stories of you guys, you mentioned Kickstarter. I know from Tomas, their product got launched at Kickstarter as well. Like, how did you use or how did you find out product market fit? And how maybe did you use Kickstarter to find it out as a tool? Or maybe that's what I'm making up. And what were your experiences in doing it this way? Or is there a pattern even in hardware products to go this way for some reason? Because it's maybe coincidence or maybe not. So product market fit, how did you find it for your product? And how did you use Kickstarter for that purpose?
Well, you can gauge the market using Kickstarter.
Okay.
And it's very good, and it's a good validation for investors. If you raise a lot of money on Kickstarter, then you can also use that as proof to investors. The trouble is you have to really build that thing. And most people doing hardware on Kickstarter don't really have any clue what they're doing at the time. And some of them learn and some don't. And you can sort of tell a little bit with some teams on Kickstarter that they're just never going to do it at all. And some you can tell. It's really very, very irresponsible to do Kickstarter if you don't really know how to build it. But for if you are ready to and you know how to do it, and you can use it to estimate the market size, it's great.
Was it one of the channels to find out if it was suitable for the market or not? Or you've completely focused on Kickstarter?
Well, we got so much publicity from that then inquiries came in.
Okay. Tomas, did you hear this?
I did hear a big part of it, yeah.
Can you share your story with Kickstarter? For what purpose you used it? How it helped you find product market fit?
Yeah, so product market fit is a big topic, but when it comes to Kickstarter, for us it was not initially product market fit, even though it helped us in a way, I guess. But the reason we went on Kickstarter was because we needed money. We had a team at the time. We had some let's say investor or partner at that time who decided to let us work on the project further by ourselves, and we needed capital. And so we went on Kickstarter. We had 3 months to do it, and we gathered some interest. So I guess that was to an extent validation. But also we soon realized that the people on Kickstarter are quite a specific audience, and it is not a validation per se that there is a target audience for our product in a broader market. So the product market fit was more of an ongoing process where we constantly try to talk to different audiences and see what sort of features they would like.
I can remember you guys going onto the streets to just ask people, right? And you did some demographic research.
This is what we do now, American style, knocking on doors and asking people if they want to buy our product.
Okay. So thank you very much. For this topic, I want to close this. So, are there questions from you guys that were not answered by these questions? Have any particular questions, or you want to save them to the end, or think a bit more? Nope.
Regarding the process of patenting or protecting your project, because on Kickstarter it's known that actually you can get copied and abused on your products, and easily, very easily. So, what was your guarantee for you both? And the patenting and the way you exploit on different territories actually those patents.
Oh, patenting I think will save a bit, but maybe as part of discovery, the typical question is if you have an idea, you publish, you start talking about your idea to avoid being copied and
or beaten by the
competition. Right? I think Tomas has an interesting story about beaten by the competition, but I don't know if you guys care to answer this one.
The patent costs like $20,000 to file, and it takes a lot of time. Unless it's an actual, real, true, meaningful invention, then there's no point. You can use it to increase the company valuation for investors, but otherwise it's a pointless exercise unless you're prepared to defend the patent, which you're not. You're not a huge company with a bunch of lawyers. So just forget about it.
I think Elon Musk called a patent a ticket to get sued.
I totally agree. But I wanted a validation regarding that. So how you can guarantee that actually you anticipate the competition, which is on the speed level, because that's became the challenge. Is at the moment you got the idea, and at the moment you're going to enter the market, maybe you have a better product coming out, and Kickstarter actually can accelerate this process. So that's the meaning of, I know that the patent is not protecting.
Of course, interesting is by the fact that actually getting the product to go takes quite a lot of time. So there is a period where that is possible.
If your main competitors are Chinese, based in Shenzhen, then you're going to lose. Unless you're really fast. You just have to be fast. There's nothing that's going to protect you except being better.
How did you get fast? I mean, that's the thing.
Well, we were going for a market that was not being served by a company in like mass production. We were trying to make a slightly lower volume product for an audience for a higher price.
The thing is, I think Tomas has a story about the fact that they started working on Angee, and in the meantime the Google Nests of this world came up. Google acquired Nest, I think, I got from the story, and then Google started playing in their field as well. But Tomas, do you have an answer to this? Like, how do you prevent competitors to catch up or to outrun you?
So was it the original answer? I mean, the question? Because I didn't hear the original question. I thought it was around patents. Is the question, how do you prevent competition beating you?
That one, and I think sort of implied that if patents would help you or not, protecting your idea. I know
that really depends a lot on the idea and the technology, I guess. In our case, we weren't developing any new technology. We were just combining existing technology, so it didn't make much sense in our case. Plus, I don't believe in patents a lot because they're hindering innovation in many regards. So.
Okay. I know that Big Belly has 2 patents granted and 3 pending.
What we have actually done with patents that we've looked at all the competing products during the whole process. We do that even today, and we try to avoid what they're doing and learn from it. So.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of Big Belly's patents, there was an Asian competitor that did I wouldn't say a copy-paste. Their product is inferior to the point of being dangerous. But Big Belly did lawyer up, and they used their patents to stop them from advertising their product that it can do a particular thing that is simply, it's a lie, it can't. And using their patents, they said, it's in terms of energy management, they said, well, we've taken apart your device, and we know that your energy management simply doesn't do what you say it does. We've got a patent on this, we know what we're talking about, and the Asian competitor did an out-of-court settlement. Big Belly used their patent the right way here, and it all worked out fine.
Thanks for being here. That's a good deal. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I need to really get going. So let's get into the sort of operational side of things of actually getting the product done. Team. I can remember from Tomas that he said, when I asked him, like, can you send me your product manager? He says, we don't have one, interestingly enough. I asked Jeffrey, who's your product manager? Who took the role? I was, or my colleague, I never forget your name, Ross took over that role. So, is it a pattern in hardware design? We from software, we know product teams and the product manager, UX designer, developers, the holy triangle concept. How did your team look? And who took on the role of product manager? Who decided at the end of the day it's going to be this feature, this one not? How does that work? And basically the structure of your team as a whole. Like how many people were working on it in what sort of roles?
We had a hardware department and office, and there was a software office, and they were separate. They were physically separate.
Okay.
Which wasn't ideal. It can work, but it's not ideal.
Okay.
It's best if everyone's in the same room. You can have remote people also. It's just harder. I was the product manager making the final decision.
Both the hardware and the software parts of it?
Yes.
Okay.
And after some time in our team grew, then I hired Ross. And we were starting to move towards doing DFM, design for manufacturing, to manufacture on a larger scale, and then Ross was experienced with that, having worked in other companies that went to mass production and went to China.
Okay.
And stuff like that.
So maybe the team changed during the life cycle of the product as well, like
yes.
from the initial stage to.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Tomas, I know a bit of the story about like the change of size of Angee and the team. But if it comes to product and product management, who would you say took on the role or takes on the role of product management in Angee?
Well, it used to be that I was the person who spent most of the time with our CTO discussing what the product should be doing and then making sure it's doing it with regards to technologies that we were implementing. But we moved from that in order to have more voices, I guess, and we created something that is called Product Committee. We didn't call it that way, I just learned that it's called that way later. But basically, I think that the best idea about product is certainly have one person to integrate all the ideas that's necessary, but that role can be played by a CEO, and most often is, I think, if the CEO is passionate about the product. But it's good to have people from, technical department, customer support, marketing, to express their voice and, basically iterate on each other's ideas, because everybody has some good ideas. So let's try to bring everybody to the table and make sure that it's all consistent.
Good. Okay. I don't know, Marek, if you want to add something, but I think most of us know.
Well, there is an interesting difference between the way things were done in Jobs.cz, which is a smallish company of 300 people and dedicated teams and everything done by the book with the whole eternity of EMs and PMs and UX design, and the way things are done in my team in Microsoft, where it's still sort of a startup-ish culture where there's the CVP, which is basically the founder of the company, and it's hard to take away the sense of ownership from him. So he's very, very interested in what everybody's doing, and he is very quick to comment on stuff. So it's a different sort of approach, and it's a different, it requires different management of expectations and work.
Okay, cool. Team is still the same. Development process then. Maybe staying with Marek for a bit. Most of people that know software development, agile principles applied in Microsoft for sure. Say yes. Jeffrey, I think you have a background in 360 Cities, which is a community platform, lots of software behind it as well. You were running a software team and also the developers. How could you or how could you not apply like software development processes or agile principles to hardware production or hardware development? Was there any overlap or not?
We did have a software team, and it was applied there with varying degrees of success. With hardware, after you try to build a prototype as quickly as you can and verify that what you're designing can actually work, there's nothing agile after that.
Okay.
You're drawing PCBs, you're ordering them, you're waiting for 2 weeks, and they come back and something doesn't work and you don't know why. And you have to find out, is it your problem or is it the problem in the factory? And then you redo it, and then you order another one, you wait 2 weeks, and this is not agile.
Oh, okay, interesting. Tomas, you maybe have some experience from your software background that you could apply or could not apply in developing the hardware part of Angee?
But this was just another beast. Like our team was pretty complex. We had cloud, mobile, embedded software, embedded firmware, hardware. Plus, we had the team distributed across the whole world. So it was a challenge to put it all together. But I think that one lesson that we've learned is to hire people with experience, because we've made a lot of mistakes that we didn't have to. But necessarily that wasn't easy to do at the time. It's easy to say now in retrospect. But having the right people with the experience that you need is essential for not wasting your time and moving as fast as possible. So I wouldn't make the same mistake again.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. Staying sort of in the area of development process, product design. I mean, hardware design, software design. There's apparently some differences. I heard two people already talking about size or fitting it into the box. Or Jeffrey, I know the story about making it as small as that thing from the beginning, having issues. So how? I don't know if in the area of garbage cans there was an issue with size or product design, probably as well. But sort of very short, sort of your main challenge in the product design itself, like aesthetics, looks.
We were too strict about keeping it small, and we suffered greatly because of that. And we went from a duct tape prototype, which did. I'm calling it a duct tape prototype. That's sort of a term in hardware development. The first one should be just as crappy as possible, but it works. Does the basic thing. So in our case, we had 6 separate boards that can capture this resolution video that we wanted to do, but it wasn't a self-contained camera by any means. So we went from that to a fully miniaturized device, which is like really fucking small. And here the boards are small. Like the whole thing is like so goddamn small. And we could have made it double the size, and no one would have had any problem with it. And it would have been much easier to build. And that was like really bad. So don't fall in love too much with your original idea. Once reality sets in, make it work first, and worry about the rest of it later.
Was there like a product designer that was sort of enforcing this, or said
that was my fault? That was like totally
your
my
fault.
fault. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. But it was an object of beauty. It was a magical object of beauty when you put that in someone's hand, and it did work. Like we built a bunch of them and they worked. But you put that in someone's hand, they go ooh, and like they get the look on their face. It was like the most amazing thing.
You can see it in software, right? This as well. Like we see this in every day. Like the designers, and we're talking about visual design. Like they want to make this pretty, and even then you put this in the hands of people, and they're like, "Oh, this is pretty. This looks so cool. This is so much better than the other competition." But then you start using it, and it's like, "I can't see that. I miss that. I don't understand what this is doing." But it looks cool on the first try, or in the sketches, or in the mock-ups. Like, yeah, we want to build this.
People do judge books by their cover. They just do.
So how pretty is a garbage can? For the
Again, most people look at a garbage. Well, you don't look at a garbage can unless if you need one, right? And then if there is one and it's overflowing, you say, "Ugh," and you're pissed off for a second. Turns out that city planners care a great deal about what a garbage can looks like, and they are your customer. It's not the person making the deposit that's your customer. They don't pay your bills. So you have the city planners, then you have the city managers, and
Garbage can.
he's showing me dirty pictures.
That was an example of a pretty garbage can totally destroyed by a plastic bag.
Yeah, there's that as well, but there's reasons for that. So there are the historical offices. There's in the Czech Republic, there's a national one, then there's a city one, and there are more chiefs than Indians when it comes to the decision-making process about which garbage can goes out on the street. So aesthetics, strangely enough, are incredibly important. And a lot of effort is
Then my obvious question is, like, if it's an American product, is it custom designed then for Czech market or not? Or it just has to...
Right, it's a beast. The thing weighs 130 kilos. I wanted to, or the idea was to bring one down today, but it wasn't going to happen without a delivery van and 2 guys. It's built in Detroit. If you went at it with a baseball bat, you would hurt yourself. So it is seriously street tough. That means it's not an object of beauty, but it is the 5th generation device. You can clearly see how it's turned from a very ugly duckling into as much of a swan as a trash can.
Okay, cool. Thomas, you have anything to add to this, or you have face similar problems? I think.
Sorry, I haven't heard the discussion because the connection was disrupting.
It's sort of like how big of a part did product design, like the aesthetics, the looks of the product?
Yeah. So I was very fortunate because I've had on a team 2 magical people. One of them was a industrial designer, and the other one was a mechanical engineer who were very passionate about their job. So the conversations they've had were mostly about making sure that the form matches its function in a way, so that it's practical, it fulfills the features that we wanted, but it also looks appealing aesthetically, because we know that people love beautiful things, like one of the panel members said. So I think that that's true.
You are building a thing for the bookshelf or for your table, so for sure that matters as well. I like the aspect of all the difference of ways you need to look at the products, from like the city perspective to the consumer, to the user finally, to the company finally using it. Okay, cool. We're going to finish this topic to keep moving. Any other questions in the area of setup of a team, development, the process, product design? I would recommend a very short one, please. Very short.
It won't be a question because you talk.
Then maybe, yeah. Okay, maybe keep it
No, just like I'm a designer, so I'm listening what's said here about design. That in any case, a good design have a function which is engaging your customers and your investors. After, yes, you have the constraints of the production, and then you review all the proposals which have been done by the designer, and then you have the technical challenge. So yes, a product needs to have constraints like you were setting up. It was not a fake and a mistake. It was something which involved the whole team in order to achieve a better product.
I think the guys
that's obvious.
I think the guys experienced that, so I don't know if you guys want to comment on this, but I think
it's about managing the thin line between like delivering the best product and actually delivering the product, right? So
exactly.
And it wasn't all my fault. As CEO, it was all my fault. But I had a reckless CTO who also didn't understand the ramifications of miniaturizing the hardware so much so early.
It sounds that there's something to learn maybe from Tomas with having actually somebody on board focused on hardware design, product design.
I wanted as many experienced people as possible who made mistakes before.
Cool.
Absolutely.
So then we get to production, guys. So keep the rest of the questions for the team member, for the panel afterwards. Get to production. the China fallacy, maybe. We think that hardware has to come out of China, and China is cheap. I watched quite a few documentaries, and it turns out it's actually not the case. China is good, maybe yes, maybe not. We saw that products get developed in Detroit, probably for a reason. So I know from Tomas, I know from Jeffrey that you actually went to China, even to the same supplier, apparently.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
Which one?
Skylight.
Skylight. Yeah, we went to Skylight. Ross was there with me. Yeah. Did they give you KFC? They brought us KFC. They thought we were going to be like, oh, great. And we were like, oh, wow, KFC. Because they think all Americans love
So
KFC.
this sounds like a topic for you too. So good things, bad things, challenges of actually getting your work done in China. Or is there a choice except for Detroit? Maybe. No. Later. First the guys, Jeffrey and Tomas.
At a certain volume, you might have to build it in China because no one else knows how to do it.
Okay.
At that volume that quickly, properly. There are other options like Indonesia. There are some companies that have camera factories there. But generally it's Shenzhen. If you're making things in a lower volume, like upstairs, they're in quantities of hundreds, it can be made to work. But when you get to a larger scale, then it's often the best choice to do it in China. You have to find your partners carefully, of course.
Can I add to that? For technology, perhaps, but then there's something called appellation of origin. I don't know if you're all into technology. I mean, somebody might want to make the next pair of jeans or shoes or glasses or whatever. Is anyone familiar with appellation of origin? Okay, so champagne can only come from the Champagne region in France. Otherwise, it's just sparkling wine. And you got the same thing for cheeses and meats and what have you. Sometimes making your product coming from a particular place, not China, is more important than anything else. And it's how and why you can command a high price. Whilst every company needs to sell product and generate revenue, I aspire to margin. Have a good, healthy margin on your product. And appellation of origin can certainly help in that.
Interesting.
So that, just taking the technology side out. That's the reason why Apple have designed in California.
They stick on the products designed in California, made in China.
Also for products that have some data security issues or other things like that, especially when you're dealing with the military, they might require things to be made in a certain country.
Okay. Any considerations on your side, Thomas, why you went for China? Any good things, bad things, experiences?
This was a long process, but I guess we went to China because at the time it seemed like nobody had the experience that we needed with regards to build that product. And after I guess about 4 months traveling to China and meeting some of the biggest and also very small manufacturers, what we have learned is that there was one or two that were very specific with the technologies, that have very specific experience with technologies that we needed. And at the same time, we were so lucky that to our office in Prague, maybe they visited some of you guys as well. GoPro executive team, including the president, visited Angee, and we had a discussion back then that they have made a recommendation to Skylight to build our product with them, and we were already talking to them. So this is why we did it in China. All the reasons that were set for scaling, pricing. I think it's true. I mean, we didn't do it for the cost, for sure. We did it for the experience and for the ecosystem that exists in China, allowing things to move faster than in other parts of the world. But of course, with certain technologies and products, it makes sense to do them in the US, which is more developed in many regards too. So it depends on the project.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody questions about sort of production process?
Actually, what's like the minimum cost to actually do your prototype in China? Because you have to fly there a couple of times, you have to do the first round, second round, or something like that. And
Okay. I think there's a question. The first question will be, I guess, to do prototype at all at China, but maybe Jeffrey.
I mean, there are small companies that, like Seed Studio, SEED Studio. They're like a very small. They sell like open source little boards and like hacker kits and stuff. But they do production for small companies, and they're kind of friendly and they communicate well. And so they're big companies and small companies. You just have to, yes, most likely go there. Ideally, stay there for a while. So
what's a while? A month or two or a week?
You might go there for a week at a time, or you might just stay there for a few months. Talk to Ross more about it. He's been there many times for a few different companies.
Alibaba, you don't have to go. You should, but you don't have to. $10.
But if you're going to build a bunch, then the company wants to see your bank account and know that you're like for real.
Okay.
So it goes both ways.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Have a chat over beer for sure. Cool. So supply chain, not necessarily. I'm gonna skip to. We actually have a product built, or we think we have it built, but it's about getting it like tested, certified. I know from Tomas, and I want to stick with you. Certifications and headaches. Making sure your SpiritCan doesn't kill anyone. So how did you go about there, and what were the challenges in getting your product certified? What certifications are there? What were the challenges? Tomas.
Oh, okay. So I have been very fortunate that we have had a guy on the team who has lived in China for many years of his life, and he's been involved in manufacturing and has gone through certifications. I would recommend to work with an agency that has a good reputation, like SGS, that makes things simpler, but not simple enough, especially if you're doing it in China. It is very bureaucratical, even tyrannical process. So I'm happy that I haven't had to deal with it directly. But it has to be done, especially when you're building complex hardware and there's a lot of potential dangers that could be done. And without it, you can't actually sell. So it's a required step in a process.
Paul, how did the guys make sure that the trash cans didn't eat anyone? Or no cats and dogs were thrown in and stuff like that.
Did you read the Facebook feed? Oh dear Lord! All right. So we were when we first launched the product, we made it onto the national evening news, TV Nova, Cete, Prima. We were in printed press. We were on online publications, and it wasn't just one weekend or something. It was over months as we slowly rolled out into different cities and municipalities, and people writing comments on the pages. Oh, kittens are going to be squashed, and people will put their baby in there instead of the baby box. How are these people smoking? I was thinking. I mean, why not just put the kitten on the tram line, right? So we just didn't. You don't interact with people like that. They're not stable. So Big Belly have the opening to the robot. Again, there's a trash can inside it. There's a bin. 4 walls and a bottom inside it when you open up the door. But this whole machine has what they call a hopper. You pull a handle, or you put your foot down, it opens up, you deposit something into it, and then it closes like this. It drops into the bin. That is there so that you can't put your arm in and then have your arm cut off. So, yeah, staying alive or not having your extremities ripped off you is important. To our customer, who is the municipality, but also to the general public who pay their taxes, who pay the municipality, who is our customer.
So for my knowledge, like what type of certifications are there? I mean, I know about the CE label and stuff like this. Like, are we talking about 10 20, 30 things you need to go through, like for a product like yours, for a camera, for software at some point?
It's a laundry list of devices because there are electric motors, there are batteries out in public spaces now, things like bomb tests as well.
Wow.
Well, the bomb test is absolutely farcical and hilarious. Prague's metro system has only one type of bin downstairs underground where the platforms are. Those bins are concrete-coated polystyrene donuts. The only thing that they guarantee is that if you put a bomb in it, it'll explode upwards, right? If you were a terrorist with a bomb, what is the only place you wouldn't put the bomb? In the bin, the bomb-proof bin. You put it anywhere else, right? So it's just, it's a fallacy that you have these bomb-proof bins. And those bomb-proof bins cost as much as a little car, each.
Any specific questions around the area of like testing? I didn't go into like how to test your product as part of the product development process, or how to do QA. Sorry. Any one of you guys have any particular questions about like the quality process or the quality part of product development in hardware certifications? No?
We do have some uninteresting QA process in software, but there's one interesting part of it. There's like stuff like we do some deployments to government in US, to defense departments, stuff like that. But we do have some customers in Ghana, in Africa. And one part of the whole process is, one tip is compliance with local custom, local customers, something like that. Doesn't matter. We do have a like. In Teams, you can like a chat message. What it does is animates like this. Thing is, in Ghana, this thing is the same as middle finger. So one part of the process, not because of that, but because of similar issues, is checking that we don't offend anybody. And there's multiple cases like this where we almost offended somebody. So that's one part of QA that you didn't really expect that would be there.
Thank you very much. Interesting. How do you find out?
You pay people that know that stuff. I don't know. Usually too late. But once you find out, you're very careful about not repeating the same mistake again.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to move on. So we have a developed, built, tested, certified product, and now how to get from having 5 of those hand built, maybe in a small factory in China, to scale up. Maybe Jeffrey in this case. Like you said, you made some handcrafted pieces first, but then what did you need to do actually to scale up and say, okay, I'm gonna produce? How many Kickstarter backers did you have for the first version of the camera?
That one?
That one.
50, and we built them and shipped them.
You built 50 of those?
Yes.
You have built them and shipped them?
Yeah, that was 6 years ago.
6 years ago?
This one, we had a few hundred backers on Kickstarter, and then a few hundred pre-orders, which are legally binding contracts. It's not like Kickstarter where you can keep the money if you don't mind ruining your reputation. So we had hundreds of these to fulfill. We eventually gave everyone's money back.
Okay.
But we built a total of around 50 cameras in-house.
Okay. So you never went to scale with it, right?
No.
Okay.
This one was not suitable to be taken to mass production.
Okay.
For various reasons. And it necessitated a nearly complete redesign.
Okay. Interesting. Tomas, what can you share about like scaling up from your first maybe handmade products, Angee, to how many? I don't know if you can share this, but how many are out there now in the wild? Angee systems.
Yeah, about close to 2,000 Angees are out there securing people's homes at the moment.
Okay.
Obviously, we've just now launched, so we are scaling our marketing efforts. But with regards to scaling production, I think that from the moment that I've shared before you, I've mentioned that we have had a product that we went on Kickstarter with, and then since that moment, it took us about 1.5 years to go through all the stages, make sure that everything is ready for mass production, and that process was long and enduring. And we have been very, I've been very lucky that I've had a team that has gone through this, especially our CTO, who has lived for a big part of that in China. So I don't know if that is an answer, but
no, so maybe that's connected to, well, from the starting phase to actually scaling up. Probably will need to have you in China as well. And okay, you didn't get there in that scale. Detroit software. Okay, interesting. Thank you very much. Any other questions about like scaling up from like a few pieces to big? Nobody is there yet with their product or idea, I guess. Okay. So you got your products out, sales and marketing, and probably we'll move a bit quicker through the next ones. Sales and marketing, hardware products versus software product. Kickstarter to get you going. You got so much noise from Kickstarter that it sort of the ball started rolling. Big Belly maybe. Like, how do you get in 54 countries with a trash can?
It was excruciating. Big Belly wisely went to, instead of trying to boil the ocean and market it to everybody, they went to universities first. They convinced the environmental departments in universities to convince the facility managers to give them a budget to buy dozens of units, depending on how big the university was. And there you just had, die-hard bearded people loving their bins. And it grew out of that. They were selling them in the US for 8 or 9 years before they went into their first international market.
Okay.
So it's really only the last 5-6 years that they've gone international. We've been focusing on municipalities. There's a sales process which is consulting. You go in, meet the mayor, the vice mayor, you tell them what you've got and what the track record is of the product. Then it goes to the tendering process, which is procurement. And that whole thing, we haven't sold a device to anyone faster than 2 years.
Okay.
So from the first call, 2 years is the fastest.
Okay.
So you want to have the patience of a monk.
Okay. Tomas, I think you want to do it a little bit faster with Angee, and you shared a bit of information about making deals with, I think it was Best Buy or some other retailers in the US. Can you share a bit of information how that worked, or?
So obviously the story for us is a little bit different. We are also in 61 countries around the world, but we decided to focus on US. The reason being that it's the most united market with regards to culture and the infrastructure and all that. So the way we are doing this is that we are trying to balance online and offline activities. So when it comes to retail specifically, we obviously have a web shop that we try to push through different channels with limited marketing budget that we have at the moment, because we are raising an additional capital now. But we do also have a strategy that is focused around offline retail. We have been fortunate to get interest of people that are now on our team that have been former executives at Best Buy and Target and other brands. So it helps. We are at the moment already in Target Open House, which is like a trial for Target. We are going to be aired in TV here in the US in the next month, actually in this month. So yeah, we're trying to balance all the options that we have with regards to when it comes to sales and marketing. And obviously in that we are trying to validate the product market fit, really define our target audience to a point where we know who they are and that for whom we are building the features so that we can have more qualitative discussions with these guys and push the product in a meaningful direction.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions from you guys, like how to get a hardware product to the market, sales, marketing, what to do different maybe? No? I think we're getting tired and it's... the thing is, it's like, if you look at it, I mean, there's a lot to do around like getting any product to the market and keeping it live and running. So maybe I'm going to skip the roadmap part a bit, like how to plan for next releases, product updates, unless you guys have something very interesting to say about that topic. I think for the software people, we know about roadmaps and trying to please everyone and naming dates. I just was wondering if in the hardware there's something else. I think Paul talked about 5 iterations of a hardware product. That's for me interesting. I think so you said it was founded in what year?
13 years ago.
13 years ago, 5 iterations of a trash can.
Yeah, and only the fourth generation had online software. Before that, they weren't connected to the internet at all. Now they are the IoT poster child, smart city solutions. So it started out hardware, and now it's the software is arguably even more important to the customer than the hardware.
Do you see some direction for Big Belly, like what's going to be next?
I do, but I can't tell you.
Interesting.
It's very exciting.
From Jeffrey, we know, of course, we're looking at the first version. We're looking at a tried second version. Anything to say about like how you would have your roadmap in mind? How would you see the life cycle of a product?
Well, with cameras, you have to kind of plan for moving extremely quickly.
Okay.
So, if you're going to design something now that's supposed to be cutting edge, then you have to take into mind that 8K is coming now, or at that time it was 4K, and like it's really evolving quickly. So it's kind of hard. You can also design a product that's not cutting edge and use more mature components that can be a safer bet, but that might also mean that it's more of a low margin, higher volume kind of thing.
Okay, interesting considerations. Any questions of you guys, like how sort of like long-term plan development of like hardware products, how that would work, how that is different? No particular questions? No?
You talk about pricing?
Pricing, sales, marketing, pricing. Yeah. How do you price a product? How do you price a camera?
Pricing is really hard. It's sort of an art, unless you're competing on price. If you make a commodity device, then it's just you're competing on price. But if you're not, then you have to price it like, the best way I've heard it is like, people will buy it, but they'll complain about the price, but they'll buy it anyway. That's the right price.
Exactly.
If it's less than that, people aren't complaining, then you're giving money away.
In terms of Big Belly, I have various different experiences. You remember the triangle, the 4 companies at the bottom. But in terms of Big Belly, the right price is, in my view, and so far I haven't been disproven, is the same price as this customer in the city. 9 out of 10 cases it's the city. The same price that the city pays now for waste management. But we reduce the number of collections by 90+%. So they get a dramatically better solution to their waste collection system, and they pay no more. And we can do that either by selling the device or by leasing the device. The damn things are so well made, they last 10+ years. Unfortunately, the ones that were built even 13 years ago are still out there working. So we don't really want to sell them. We will, if they want to buy them, we will sell them to them. But we prefer to lease them, because then we can make more money.
That's a perfect bridge for Thomas, I think, because I know from Thomas' story that you guys went from selling a hardware product with some software to leasing your product, basically, effectively. So maybe, can you tell us something about pricing and your change of the business model?
Yeah, so I'll try to be brief, even though this is a complex topic. So We approached this wrong in the beginning, I guess, sort of, but not really, because we have tried to build an amazing product. We didn't really consider the price point. We didn't look at the market, what they would pay for the product, and we also didn't assume that this is going to change in a year and a half from now, when the competition is going to be different, the market landscape is going to look different. So I would probably calculate it into any future product decisions or pricing decisions. But when it comes to changing the model from selling a product to service, this was something that we believed makes sense to do for a long time, because obviously there is a lot of people who prefer now, we are living in a different age, who prefer now to pay for a service or for a product that sooner or later obsoletes and only to take part in their shelves. So we have discussions now about pricing. One of the things that I was just discussing this morning on a leadership call was that we currently price Angee at $16.99 a month as a service, home security as a service. And me and our marketing director believe that we should round it to $70, because we believe that gives us a unique angle in terms of positioning ourselves, because nobody else does that. Everybody tries to do the old $0.99, and I think that this gives us some sort of transparency to customers, and also it kind of like creates an emotional reaction rather than a rational from the customer, who then suddenly, I guess, builds trust with the brand, because I just think 17 is more honest than 16.99. It's just a little story that we are discussing right now.
Interesting. Good. Thank you for that. I think, unless anyone else questions about pricing.
I'm sorry for being difficult. I would add one more thing.
Yes.
From a technology, if you're selling a technology, pricing is probably more important than if you're selling something emotional. My background was in beer, drink, spirits and beer. And there you're selling an experience. So for 9 years, I was the exclusive importer distributor of Heineken. Heineken, of course, is a Pils lager beer, which is a Czech invention. When we first launched it here, everybody thought it came from Germany. Of course, it comes from the Netherlands. And we sold it at 4 times the price to Czech beer, which is arguably the best Pils beer in the world. And it was because people didn't want a beer. They didn't go into the pub and say, Bibble. They went into the pub and they said, Heineken. They wanted an experience. They were prepared to pay 4 times more for arguably the same product. Some might say an inferior version of the same product. If you're selling an experience, don't be afraid about reaching for the stars in terms of pricing. Different for technology.
I think one point here, it also depends whom you're selling to. We do sell some hardware, some meeting room systems to companies, and the customer there is the CIO or CTO, and they have budgets on stuff. And very often we hear we don't care as long as it's not more than X $1,000. It doesn't matter if it's $1,000 or $3,000. That's below their resolution limit. So there you can easily make huge margins just on that. And I totally agree with what you said. You need to look at the second option, right? For example, everybody in meeting rooms have these HDMI dongles with the adapter to a DVI, the adapter to VGA. These things cost altogether $50. They get lost once a month. They get damaged. Imagine you have 2,000 rooms. Your company has 2,000 rooms. You lose $50 times 2,000 every month. That's crazy stuff. And you come with a solution that costs $10,000, pays off by itself in a year. So base your price on what the next best option is.
I had a topic about sort of the B2C, B2B market. And I think we covered it nicely, selling to cities, selling to bigger companies, or trying to sell to consumers. I just want to make one comment. I know from Tomas' story about when you say you're selling an experience. Tomas used literally the words I want to have people build a relationship with my product, and therefore I think it's called Meet Angee. So they are paying a price for that sort of relationship with a product, and probably they're willing to pay a bit of a premium. Look at the Apple products. I mean, you're not paying for a piece of Chinese hardware. You're paying for having a stupid iPhone.
You're only jealous.
I have one. I got it from the but I was
Yeah.
where it's going. So last topic before I sort of get to the main lessons learned is dealing with user feedback. I mean, we all have discussions about we need to listen to the users. They have their requirements. They know what they want. They know what our product should do. So how does that work for you guys? Jeffrey, what you mentioned was when I started asking my users, they said, I don't need a small thing like this. I could well have done with a bigger one.
Well, people were, when they saw it in real life, they're like, oh, it's smaller than I thought.
Smaller than I
I'm
thought.
like, oh, we could have made it bigger.
Okay.
Would have been easier.
How else did you use like customer feedback or user feedback in coming from this?
Well, designing the next camera, which was more professional products, we interviewed a lot of filmmakers and brought the product to them and showed them what it does and what is it missing, what does it have to do.
Okay.
And we did a lot of research into like exactly what they need, like what ports do they need.
Okay.
Do they want an SDI port or whatever port and all that. And we based it on real research.
I think Tomas mentioned going on the streets now and asking people, talking to people, which is a good approach. I was really wondering when I wrote this question, like, how do you get feedback on the trash can?
You'd be surprised.
So
I've got one example for hardware and one example for software. So I mentioned earlier on not getting your arm chopped off as a bonus. But this hopper, when the foot pedal was designed, and it only shipped a year ago, again, this company's 13 years old, it's on a wire and a spring. That's the mechanism inside the door, that you put your foot down like this, the hopper doesn't pop out. Because it turns out, at about 120 centimeters, which is how high the hopper is, there's a hell of a lot of kids with their little heads in the way. Mommy, I need to put my ice cream there. Mommy steps on the thing, whack, and the city gets sued. They, tiny, in what would be an insignificant question, they went out, they found out, how should we do this? And it's a wire with a spring at the end, so you put your foot on it, and it comes out like this.
Or was it literally based on the fact that like 10 kids got hit by
No. They never shipped it any other way. It's like IKEA with the machine robot, opening drawers all the time. They spent months or a year on how does the hopper do this. That's one thing. The other thing is software. There was intensive work all over the world with customers on finding out, what the geeks in the office wanted to build, and what the actual waste collection, not the company managers, but the guys who need to take a drug test every morning, wearing their orange and green overalls. What is important to them? Only give them what's important. No bells, no whistles. Just the important stuff. And so there was a hell of a lot of research that went in before the product was shipped.
Before, but then afterwards. Like, I mean, what if I go to Prague Zoo, I try to stick in the stick of a like sugarcane thing, and the thing makes a huge amount of noise, or it gets stuck. What do I do?
The machine will get stuck. If you don't use the machine properly and the machine breaks, it's not the machine's fault.
How will you get that on your desk that I had an issue in Prague Zoo sticking a stick?
So there are admin accounts, and then there are user accounts for each deployment. And the higher up the food chain, the more access they have. They'll either get an alert on their cell phone or an email into their inbox, or if they have this open on their screen as a part of their daily job, then there will be a light.
So partially it's like operational, like you get feedback from the machine.
So managers will have more access, more bells, more whistles, but they're not. It shouldn't go wrong. So the people who are using it 365 days a year, it's a super simple product for them. And the higher you go up the food chain, it's the same product with just more features, and that is so by design.
And that's what we all say about every product, like it shouldn't go wrong.
It's surprising how close trash cans are to Microsoft products. It's very interesting. You're right at the point where
the more we ask for feedback, the more we get feedback, we realize we're often over-indexing on features that are not useful. We design stuff for weeks and then we test it and the response is like, yeah, I didn't even notice. What I care about is, does it work? Yes, it works. I get my stuff done? Cool. I don't care about the rest. The features that we build are more often for the higher people, for the managers, to keep track of their employees, of what's happening, what meetings is effective or not. So you need to look at your features based on your demographic, like a target group, and who the customer actually is. Is it the guy who's taking out the trash, or is it the guy at the municipal office, right?
We actually have a feature in our software platform where a manager can click a button and all of this data is conveniently rendered into PowerPoint presentation sized slides, and it comes out and it looks like as if they put it together.
Well, this is huge. This is huge because you make the one person that probably makes the decision to buy it very happy.
Okay.
Graphs and everything is in there. It's wonderful.
If you make this one guy successful.
Okay.
I have one question actually. I can imagine that in Microsoft you've got like bunch of feedback, on Teams. So actually in reality, how do you work with the feedback? We have thousands of tickets, thousands of messages. How proactively you go there, search for certain things, and how you prioritize, and how you work with
So
feedback.
you're right, there's multiple levels of feedback. What we have also is multiple, we call it rings. So you release a feature, and there's multiple rings that it gets released to. First is like your office, then it potentially goes to hundreds of people that work on the product, then thousands of people in your maybe office group, and 100,000 people in Microsoft, and 20,000. And then there's customers who signed up that actually want to be the early adopters, and then it goes out to the public, which the whole process can take 4 weeks. But it's very useful because you get the feedback very early, and there are people very eager to share that feedback. And how we process it, that's for a longer discussion. There's no strict process around that, but we do take a look at the feedback. We use user voice, which sort of filters itself out. People vote on stuff that is an issue for them. So
that's available for the community of early adopters, or it's a really public?
So there's multiple levels of user voice as well. There's public one, there's one for the early adopters, and there's one internal one as well. So you need to weigh those things differently, right? Because you have less people in early adopters, you have thousands of people in the production version.
Have you thought of using Jakub Janacek's D21 model?
I know what you mean. The money,
D21.
Voting on.
You get one positive vote if you like something, and you get 2 negative votes.
It's a good idea. Just behind that.
Okay. Maybe last one for Tomas. Because of user feedback, if you say, okay, I want my users to have a relationship with my product, then I assume that somehow the relationship and the way of how users communicate back to you and tell you if they like Angee or do not like Angee is somehow different. Maybe can you share something about how that works for Angee? How you collect user feedback, work with user feedback, give feedback to users again?
Yeah, so 2 things that I believe that are most important and specific with the way how we do things. I think that what helped us a lot was a cooperation with a partner here in the US who is a professional in product management, I guess, and they have done 2-3 weeks projects with the large test groups of users to help us to make this really a data project where we have been engaged in discussions with customers and have been sorting their feedback into buckets and then making sure that we understand the impact of certain features for them and estimating on the other side the effort necessary to build those features. And so based on that, we have had a roadmap that was data-based. At the same time, we are always trying to make sure that it's consistent with the vision, and there might be a misalignment or gap between these two. And the other thing is that we are now focusing on building a customer support department, and that is probably the most important department in the whole company. Works closely with the product development team and the QA team.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. seems Angee got their stuff organized well. Okay. Any questions here other than what we already had about like working with user feedback, listening or not listening to what users want, to design the product and build the product? Nothing. Okay. Then I think almost at the end, and I'm gonna do a quick round around all the people and say, okay, in this whole project of building a hardware software product, looking back, like further along, shorter, like biggest lesson learned. What would you never do again? What are you doing different? What will you do different? What are you doing different now? What are you up to, basically, as well? And how did you apply what you've learned from your experiences so far? So, Jeffrey.
Pick your co-founders carefully because you're marrying them. It is like a marriage.
Okay.
And don't just jump in with someone because they happen to do what you need to do. It should be someone that you really know very, very well. That you've been through some shit with together. You see what they're really like.
So you're saying you probably can't do it alone, but you need some people to pick them wisely. Or
Yes,
would you argue just do it alone?
No. Well, I mean, find people that need to do the job but, who have made mistakes before and have experience in what you need to do.
Okay.
Would you start a company with your friends?
Yeah, but you have to be prepared to fire them.
Interesting. Okay. So that's it for you. Tomas, I think you have a lot of lessons learned with your time in Angee. But what would you say were your biggest lessons and how are you applying them moving forward?
Well, like you said, there's probably a lot of things that I have gone through, and a lot of lessons that some of which may not make sense for you. But I think that one thing that is transcendental is the value of a team. For me, and people that work with me know that the company is just the box, and what matters is really the relationship with the people in the team, because this is something that you carry out through life. There's a lot of value in those relationships because people knowing each other can work with each other more efficiently. And yeah, so the team probably is one thing that stands out.
Okay, fair enough.
Focus on the team. I guess that's the lesson learned.
Doesn't sound very hardware, but I think it's going to be a common thing. Paul, what do you think is it? Lessons learned from Belly. From the product. And how,
what you were saying about choosing your partners. There's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics. I love statistics. So did you know that every second marriage in the Czech Republic ends within 12 months? It does. Choose your partner well. Really, seriously. I've had business partners in the past where, despite my best efforts, it didn't turn out well. The product was... developing the product is a problem, shipping the product is a problem, making money was a problem, and it was all because of the relationship didn't have the right ingredients. My wife and I, we've got 3 kids. We're still together. Choose your partner well. The rest will kind of happen on its own. If you've got a good partnership, I'm talking about product development, try having 3 kids. Choose your partner well.
Certification. And you have a joint fetish for trash. Okay. Partners, team. Marek, tell us that software is different.
I have to second the team. You really need a team that works together. If you don't trust each other, it's super hard. And I've learned, especially at Microsoft, we work remotely a lot. And it's really hard to trust people if you don't know them personally. So if you ever in a situation where you need to work remotely, make an effort to visit at least once a year, but more often, and get to know the person to realize it's an actual human being and not somebody who's trying to con you or trying to make your life hell. And second thing I learned is be the annoying person in the room and ask the questions. If nobody's asking questions, do ask the question. Question stuff. Regardless of who's asking, it might be the CVP. Doesn't matter, ask the question.
Okay. So funny to hear that there's no like specific software hardware thing here. It's people on business, that type of thing. But yeah, we acknowledge the issues. The distributed team, Netherlands, Czech, China. How and how often to go to China. Have team focused in US, working with a big team, smaller team at some point in Angee. So thank you very much for that. Any other questions that are two? Great.
What question would you ask other panelists?
Ah.
We have asked a couple questions already.
It's true that they're actually not like talking to each other. I'm asking them. Good point.
I have more like kind of deep questions about the hardware. Like, what do you mean when some teenager gets the hopper stuff? Who unsticks the hopper? And are you putting garbage men how to work? And are they like boycotting you? Or are garbage men like destroying the garbage cans?
I will show you. Here are my keys.
It's a universal key.
Here's the rubber glove. So I absolutely. It's me and it's other members of the team. It's the garbage collection team. Just for context, the municipality of Prague 1, which if that's Prague, Prague 1 is about the size of the tip of my finger. Prague 1, the size of the tip of my finger. Prague 1 has got 1,254 bins. The vast majority of them are emptied 4 or 5 times a day, every day. Yeah, so these things, it's Mogadishu out there if you're a bin. These things get filled up very, very quickly. So somebody could put a plastic bag filled with trash, tied in a knot, into the hopper gets stuck. Now, is that the machine's fault? No, it's not. It's the person that put the bag in the hopper, they put it in, they go, oh, stupid machine. They just blocked it. Right? It's like putting a toilet roll into a toilet, flushing it, fucking toilet, bad design. Right? It was the person's fault. So unfortunately, this does happen. But again, iterations. Big Belly decided to put a sensor in the hopper. So the next devices that we get into the market, actually the ones we just installed in Jates, they have a sensor in the hopper. And if it stays open, a couple of minutes, you can set the timer. Then the waste collection company know that something is being blocked. So, iterations. But yeah, I got the keys, I got my rubber gloves, and so does everybody else, because it's a war zone. If you're the bin.
So let's stick with you, Paul. So, what question do you want to ask one of the other panel members?
Because we just have this going on, I'm going to ask over here. Would you ever consider becoming an inventor, product developer, putting your heart out there with everything that you know, and risking rejection?
Yeah, I don't really mind risking rejection. I've read an article about an ex-colleague of mine who said, don't start a company unless what you want to do is run a company. Because he said, the amount of extra stuff that's you're going to have to do to run the company is going to take up majority of your work time. You're not going to be able to do what you love. So I'm not sure I'm going to start a company. Being an inventor, yeah, totally. I think I'm slowly getting to a point where I don't want to have any managers above me, so I might actually...
Don't get married.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I'll consider that.
That leaves us with you, Marek.
I have a question, more a mundane one for Thomas.
Not leave us, we have Thomas as well, but you can ask Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas. Do you have any privacy concerns when you were designing the whole thing? It's a security thing. I suppose it has a camera, right? or some sensors.
Mm-hmm.
Was there ever any privacy concerns from you designing this thing or from people buying this?
Constant. Constant concerns. So, I mean, it was one of the first things that I was frustrated with when we realized that we were putting camera in people's homes. So how do we deal with it? I mean, I'm the kind of person who doesn't have anything to hide, so I wouldn't personally mind if, my life is streamed online. I don't care. Not it, I would enjoy it. But, so other people, for a lot of people, this is a concern. So we figured quite soon that if the camera can rotate to face the wall when people get home, that solves a big problem. There's actually a huge audience now that we are now trying to tap into that likes that privacy aspect. Actually, our messaging right now is don't compromise on privacy. So it's a big thing for us. One of the strategic pillars on our roadmap where we are developing and improving the product.
Okay. Thanks.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, totally.
So, Tomas, do you have a question for one of the guys here? Sorry.
Oh, probably a lot of questions. One that comes to mind right now would be for Jeffrey, I guess. Jeffrey.
Sure.
So how do you know? I mean, we are, I guess, all sort of creative people, and we have a lot of ideas on what to do, and So one of the things that I like to ask is, how do you know that you want to start something new? You've had a lot of history behind your product already, but I mean, is that you want to do that for the rest of your life, or at what point will you decide to do something else?
Interesting. I see myself doing a few different other things in my life, I guess. So at some point I'll maybe get tired of what I'm doing now and maybe do something completely different. But I don't know what it is. I'm kind of open-minded about that. I don't know.
Okay, so it's a passion thing. Until it's there, then you go for it.
I mean, the companies that I've made were based on some, passion that I had. It wasn't like a clinical identifying where there could be a profit made, which is probably the more sane way to make a company, I have to say. But yeah, it's different for different people. But yeah, maybe I'll discover something else that I'm fascinated in and go after that. I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
But it will come.
I hope so.
What's the next dirty thing that's still not discovered?
Go with fetishes. I mean,
Yeah.
what's
There are a lot.
So it turns out there's 1 billion Christians in the world, and many of them have children. And there's an opportunity there. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but there's a market. Another one that I'm working on. I want to launch my own whiskey. I've already got my trademark registered.
What is it?
It's Ulysses. So it's the book written by James Joyce. That all takes place in one day, June 16th, which means it has its own kind of St. Patrick's Day. It's Bloomsday. Leopold Bloom was the hero of the book. It's celebrated all over the world. It's quintessentially Irish. It takes place in Dublin. It has a global following of people that tend to be well educated, so affluent, so they have money, so I can take from them in exchange for a bottle of whiskey. I've signed up the author of the Whiskey Bible to be my master blender, and James Joyce's grandnephew, Bob Joyce, has agreed to be my ambassador. Yeah, and I got the trademark, which helps. So I have that. I have a couple of other things as well. So I don't like getting bored. But they take time. They cost a lot of money. So do having 3 kids. So it's a balancing act.
So thanks for the great question. This is really fun to hear. There was one more question.
Yeah. So it's because of the topic, which is software versus hardware. So actually, how do you make sure that potentially rubbish software doesn't break your lovely polished hardware toys and lovely products? Because for most of the time and nowadays, you need to have very good hardware, but very good software as well. So how do you make sure you have very good software and hardware as well at the same time?
Well, as long as the hardware works, you can update it.
Sorry?
As long as the hardware itself works. If the software is crap, you can update it at least. That's the nice thing about software in general.
Being a product manager for software, you can be quite lazy. You can update stuff later. Yeah, you can fix it later. If you screw up with hardware, I suppose it's more expensive.
Yeah.
And ruin your business.
Yeah.
Wearing my big belly hat here, there are competitors. There are other companies that are still on their first generation device, and they just aren't where Big Belly are in terms of the hardware and software development and having a robust, street tough product on both accounts. Thanks be to God. They'll get there eventually, but it's definitely not easy. There's a shitload of trial and error. You can't just copy paste. It just doesn't work that way.
But I think you can create an environment like Jeffrey had the issue with the hardware software teams were not co-located, so that created issues. So having them together probably would work better. I don't know if Tomas can add something like how do you make sure that software and hardware actually play nice.
Test it, try to figure out if it's hardware or software issue, and work on a revisions of hardware, smaller revisions continually. So.
Okay. Does everyone see your question? Yeah. Okay, I think I'm gonna close. We started a bit late. Sorry for that, and we dragged it a bit long. So thank you very much, Tomas for sure for sticking with us for that long. Jeffrey, Paul, Marek.
We've known each other for like 4 years.
Exactly. So thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for attending. Please give us some feedback about how you experienced this meetup and what you would like to see in next meetups. There's still some vegetables at least left, and there's a lot of beer left for sure. So hang around, talk to the guys. They will be here for a bit more, hopefully. Tomas, again, thank you very much for joining us from the US and for your time. And if there's no other questions.
Thank you for inviting me, and let me know if there's anything that I can do to help.
No, thank you. Seriously, this was for me. This was very valuable. I hope for you guys as well.
Nice to meet you guys.
A big thanks to Dave for organizing it.
I think we have streamed on Facebook, so I'm going to stop the recording, and hopefully there will be a recording. And I'm going to put on some music, and that's it. So I'm going to let you go, Tomas. Thank you very much.
All right, cheers.
Okay, cheers. And grab a beer, please, because we have.
Thank you.
Still informed.
Yes, thanks very much. Hi. Staying here.
Your friend.
Check this.
I have a quick question. You work on Angee as well?
Because actually, found this amount. It's hard.